In celebration of Women's Month, we invite you to be unstoppable. Take courage and acknowledge what fear you may have. How many passions and chances do we unknowingly filter out because we're scared or uncertain? This month, we've dedicated a page for you to say yes to something. What ideas would completely excite you? What is truly possible for you? Like a fully confident archer who trusts in their aim, fill in the target board with all the thrilling opportunities that can come to mind. We still have 3 quarters ahead. Go ahead. Take courage. Be unstoppable.
From here on, I want you to open yourself to receiving.
To say, wait, I don't deserve it yet. Okay, I need to work hard for that.
You get rid of the clutter in your home, in your life.
When we receive our experiences and how we can train it better and help us have better results in life.
Know that every cell in your body eavesdrops on your thoughts. What does that mean?
Instead of being afraid, instead of turning it away, welcome it, because it's just like any other emotion.
You are powerful because of who you are and what you are, not because of who you are not.
You know how important you are. You know how important your life is.
Knowing that we are light.
You have a unique human design blueprint. You do. And it shows you your important role in the universe, what your soul purpose is, basically by showing you who you're not.
There's still one thing in our lives that we can control.
Simply make the intention. Connect your issues.
Faith is not believing that God can. It is knowing that God will. So my fear has also been replaced by expectant faith.
And then life will be better.
As it has done for the past 16 years, the 2022 Beldager Power Planner continued to empower Filipinos to create lives they love and claim all the good this world has to offer. Available in 4 designs that suit your personality and style, the Inside Pages is made of Forest Stewardship Council certified paper. It houses 12 special pages designed to help you live a fulfilling and meaningful life, 13 monthly calendars with journal prompts and reminders to help prioritize and plan, vertical weekly layouts to keep track of schedules, jot down notes, and organize daily tasks or appointments. And it also has a Perks of Abella booklet that houses lifestyle coupons for over 40 brands. When you scan the QR code, you get access to 12 safe spaces through virtual reality videos all over the Philippines. It's a wonderful respite from your inner chaos, and great with our Viviamo Spark IM virtual cardboard goggles. Get to meet certified, world-renowned, licensed professional trainers. 2022 is the year that you become.
Hi guys! How is your Quenza app coaching experience so far? Just in case you're already done watching the coaching video by Coach Karel and also watching the replay of the FB Live series last Wednesday, you are set to do Brain Strong for Joy primer worksheet. So you're gonna find it along with your pathways. You will be sent an email to remind you to answer it, so you can do it in the app, right in the app. But if you still want to do this in your journal, you're a pen and paper kind of person, you can simply generate PDF, download that, and voila, you have a PDF file of the worksheet from Quenza, and you can print it and put it in your journal or your BDJ Power Planner, and there you have it. So much to do inside the Quenza app, and we look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget to scan your QR codes in your BDJ Power Planner to get access to all of these freebies and more.
Hi, good evening, Bellas. My name is Ayan De La Torre, and I will be your host for tonight. just like what was mentioned in the video, Happy Women's Month. And tonight, we will continue the third leg of our celebration with 4 remarkable guests. And of course, that includes our guests of honors, the Bellas that are watching you. So let us see who is here. So let me check the comment section. Feel free to say hi to all of the Bellas in this virtual space and let us know where are you tuning in. So good evening to Jillian. Hello to everyone here. So please type your comments and let us know where you are tuning in. And as we read your comments and have this conversation, let me tell you about this campaign. So the campaign's name is hashtag I am worthy. It's all about empowering you to dream, and that is our way of celebrating you as a person. Today and in the remaining Wednesdays of Women's Month, which is March, we will talk to women who claim their power and inspire you to become dream-powered. And hello as well to Ariel, Lady Len, Donna. Good evening, everyone. So all of us women, we deserve the spotlight and we are worthy of celebration. And tonight, you are part of that spotlight and you deserve to be dream-powered too. So what are you worth? Since it's hashtag I am worthy, it's actually time for us to try to complete that sentence or phrase. So type it in the comment section below. Like me, I always say hashtag I am worthy of love. Sometimes it's also hashtag I am worthy of growth. So sometimes when we say it out loud or type it in the comment section, then we feel more empowered to actually make it happen. So please type it all the way in the comment section. Put hashtag I am worthy and your word. So let me see. I see that also Zakia is tuning in from Nuvali. That's great to hear. Thank you for being here. Tai Tai from Lady Len. So please be part of this campaign by thinking of a word that you'd like to achieve or you'd like to try it out. So hashtag I am worthy black. And of course, any answer, any emotion, or any goal is valid. Hashtag I am worthy with a purple heart. Perhaps also we have some army friends here in the Bella section. Great. So thank you for sharing, and I'll keep reading them in the comment section. So I see in Zaskia, I am worthy of peace. That is such a lovely sentiment. Peace is something that not everyone is able to achieve. But if we are able to achieve peace internally, then it's also easy for us to be of service to other people externally as well. And for Ange, it's I am worthy of living my best life. Great. And for Katie, I am also worthy of peace. So lots of peace themes and also meaningful living. So let's see how we'll be able to talk about that more as we go through this segment. So there, as always, BDJ believes in you, even though sometimes we forget or we don't believe in ourselves. And so one way we believe in you is that we really want to talk how we as women can create positive change because we deserve it. Our children deserve it. And obviously, meaningful change begins in each of us. In each of us lies passion. And sometimes we find that we need help in order to turn that passion into action. So today we begin with exactly what BDJ has been advocating throughout the entire Women's Month, and that is change. So hashtag I am worthy of change is our theme for tonight. I also saw in the comment section, Jillian, I'm worthy of just being me, being myself. I am worthy of respect, and I'm worthy of genuine love and happiness. All of these things come into play, but for tonight, we will focus on the word change. So we invite you to try to bloom where you are planted and hopefully find the courage to turn your passions into meaningful actions. May pahabol pa si Donna, I am worthy of the blessings that I receive. Let us claim it. Let us reclaim our power and be dream-powered and inspire other people as well. So today or tonight's conversation would not be possible if it were not for our partner. So this nonprofit organization that provides grants and technical assistance to organizations and individuals that empower the people to protect and conserve our forests. So bonded by a mutual affinity for the protection of the country's lush forest, Forest Foundation Philippines was actually established in 2002 under a two bilateral agreement between the governments of USA and the Philippines through the U.S. Tropical Forest Conservation Act, which resulted in actually two tropical forest conservation agreements, the FCA 1, the FCA 2, a bit technical, but under this agreement, there was a depth of nature agreement that converts all of the Philippines debt into funds that are used by the Foundation for Forest Protection and Conservation Activities. On a personal note, I am one of the grantees of Forest Foundation Philippines. Together with them and other partners, we actually created workshops together. We built a conversation card that tries to deepen a relationship with the natural world. So I'm really, really in awe of all the work that this foundation has done in order to deepen our connection with natural world and also for us to be worthy of meaningful change. So to tell us more about what this foundation do and how you can be part of Forest Foundation Philippines grants, let us actually welcome one of their members, Shen Belmonte from Forest Foundation Philippines.
Hi,
Hi,
Ian. Good evening.
Good evening. This feels like like one of our usual talks before
Oo nga
for
eh.
grant making. So
Yes.
Shen, if you were to do the hashtag I am worthy, just as a start, what would be your word for tonight?
Siguro I am worthy of love rin, like our other commenters, because I think it's good that we're able to show yung love natin to each other, to our environment, and to other parang creatures no, that make the world lovelier for all of us.
Agree. So like it doesn't just mean love for self or love for family or friend. It goes beyond meaning it's also all the natural human beings and creatures that live and coexist in this natural world. So segue na lang din since it's about love for nature. Can you tell us more about what does Forest Foundation do and what is your mission?
Yes, actually very comprehensive na yung intro ni Ayen. So, na-cover niya na lahat. So, siguro to add na lang to that, Forest Foundation is a non-profit organization that works to protect and conserve mainly the country's most critical forest landscape. So, what are these landscapes? So, we have yung entire Sierra Madre Range. So, 10 provinces yun in Luzon. We also have Palawan, Samar, and Leyte, and Bukidnon and Misamis Oriental. So at Forest Foundation, we have a four-pronged approach to conservation, meaning we do not just plant trees, no? So meron kaming four-pronged approach. So number one, yung grow forests. So we support responsible forest management projects that are guided by data and science. So this includes yung reforestation efforts, researches, because we can't conserve what we don't know. So we believe in the importance of research. And then we also have grow livelihood. So we empower forest-dependent communities to become guardians of the forest while making a living in an economically, ecologically, and socially sustainable manner, because we think it's unjust and then we advocate for conservation without looking after the welfare of our forest-dependent communities. And then number three, we have grow partnerships. So we work to build consensus between civil society, government, and communities to develop and implement policies and programs to protect and conserve our forests, because we can't do all the work alone naman, di ba? Madami tayo na nasa field na to. And then number four, of course, we have Grow Advocate. So we support projects that advocate for forest protection and conservation and empower people as well as institutions to protect and conserve as forests, because yung people, no, sila yung magtutuloy ng conservation work that we have started by growing forests, growing livelihoods, etc. Thanks, Ayen.
Thanks, Shen. And yeah, our project Where to Next is part of the Growing Advocate section. And at first, I never thought we would be able to get the grant, but a lot of things are possible if we actually find more opportunities to contribute. So but why is it important? Let's take a step back, Shen. Why do you think it's important for us to protect and conserve our forests? Obviously, all of us are going through so many challenges, so many things that have to be done at home in our community. So why is it important that we also spend time, effort, and our energy to protect and conserve our forests?
Yes. Actually, we understand yung ganong concern, because right now, ang dami nating iniisip, diba? We have other social issues that we need to address, no. But for us, no, it is very important to work on forest protection and conservation right now, alongside with the other issues that we are facing, because the country is facing a rapid decline of forest cover. So from 27 million hectares down to already as little as 7 million hectares. So along with the combined threats of logging activities, population growth, increased agricultural activities, and even mining. So we are losing around 47,000 hectares of forest cover every year. So this is according to the Forest Management Bureau of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So obviously we are losing forest cover at an alarming rate, and if we don't take action right now, yung forests na to might not be around for the next generation to see, including our siblings, our children, mga pamangkin natin, di ba? And yung forests natin, they're not just trees, no? They serve as habitats for wildlife. They ensure water provisioning of our watershed. So yung tubig natin, galing yan doon. They connect forest fragments, improve natural landscapes for those who love to travel, di ba? And they protect us from natural disasters like typhoons. And they also secure yung livelihoods and even yung culture of the forest-dependent communities na nagre-reside in it. And lastly, it serves as an important part of our culture, especially since so much of the plants and animals that we have can only be found here. That's why we have to act quickly, and that's also the reason I think why we are all here today, to engage our women of today to take up the mantle of forest protection and conservation.
That's right. Thank you so much, Shan. So taking care, protecting, conserving our forests is also our way of protecting our lives, right? Our future lives, being able to see our kids, our nephews, pamangkin, to be able to encounter wildlife, to be able to appreciate nature. So all of it obviously coexists. And we need to take the time and intention to be part of that process. And since you mentioned, Chan, that you want to recognize the role of women in conservation, can you tell us any notable women that you've encountered in your work, and what do they usually do, and like why are you inspired by them?
Yeah, I think we invited some of them here today. Our viewers will meet them later. But for us, no, that kaya din namin inorganize tong event na to is because we see women as an important actor in forest protection and conservation. In a world dominated by patriarchal societies and cultures, forest destruction caused by development projects such as tree plantations, mining, and oil extraction have severe and differentiated impacts on women, even more serious than those affecting men, disempowering and impoverishing women. So this webinar would like to highlight the important role of women in forest protection and conservation by celebrating both Women's Month and International Day of the Forest together. So last March 21, Day of the Forest. So for this webinar, we have invited our grantees and partners to share their own conservation journeys so they can also inspire other women or Bellas to start their own. So we have Attorney Gertie Mayo Anda, our grantee, the Executive Director of the Environmental Legal Assistance Center. So she has over 25 years of field-based environmental law practice in forest protection and conservation and community resource management. We also have Mela Lomotan of Philippine Parks and Biodiversity, also our grantee, who left her corporate job to protect and conserve our environment full-time. I think she has a very interesting story, and she has worked tirelessly to support the forest rangers of Ipo Watershed, a major supplier of Manila's water requirements, and restore forests in the area. And then we also have Pia Duran, a filmmaker from the Insider Philippines, who's also our grantee, who taps into her creativity to address social injustices that the most disadvantaged experience. So at the moment, she is developing her first feature documentary film, also supported by the foundation, about forest guards. So the forest guards are people who protect our Philippine eagle and its home, our forest. So even yung host natin, as mentioned earlier, si Ayan, is one of our grantees. So we worked with them to support creatives to become conservation storytellers, no? So to some extent, these projects have been supported by the grant programs of the foundation. And aside from supporting projects that protect and conserve the forests, it's important for us at the foundation to be able to share our resources and platform to support women and even the youth. So we see them as critical partners in the work that we do.
Thank you so much, Shan. So if you notice, sobrang diverse ng fields of women in conservation. It could be legal, it could be training, could be empowering rangers, and it could also be creating a documentary. So in a way, if you can think about it, if you put your mind into it, there's so many ways that you can take part in conservation. So for the Bellas that are tuning in and they actually want to start a journey in conservation, how do they apply for a grant with Forest Foundation? Nagbago na ba since we applied, and what are the usual steps or first questions that they should think about before they actually dive in and apply for that grant?
Yeah, I think more or less same pa rin, no? But at Forest Foundation, we believe na everyone can contribute to forest protection and conservation. That's why if you see yung roster of grantees namin, as mentioned by Ian, it's also very diverse. So, I think number one, parang you would have to siguro figure out what you want to do. Parang do you want to use your talents in the arts or do you want to plant trees? Do you have parang siguro an enterprise who would like to be more environment friendly, ganyan. So if you have those ideas, you may visit our website and check out our grant application process. And siguro if you don't have an idea right now, you might also want to check out our publications because we have quite a number of publications. Para lang din you can also get to know our forests better. Kasi, di ba sabi nga, we can conserve something that we don't know. So, baka right now, kung hindi pa natin nakikita, upon reading yung mga publications na to, or even watching yung videos namin, you might have an idea. And if may idea na kayo, just visit our website. Or if you need help, you can also DM us on our socials. So, we're at Forest Foundation PH on Facebook and Instagram lang. Thank you.
Thanks, Shan. So the website is actually forestfoundation.ph. But if you just like to chat with Shan and the rest of the team, you may also send them a direct message via Facebook or Instagram. As mentioned, if you also share your best takeaways all throughout this webinar and also engage in the comment section, you will get a chance to win exciting prizes. And obviously, these are sustainable gifts that you can use as you try to deepen your knowledge in conservation. So last question, Shen. Apart from applying for a grant, if they just want to be able to protect the forest, not necessarily spearhead a project, what other pathways can women and Bellas get into?
Yeah, so in Forest Foundation, we call our advocates BFFs or best friends of the forests. So we want our BFFs to live out their advocacies and openly share their passion for the forests every chance they get. So as such, no, I think this is best reflected in our everyday actions. So from our lifestyle, livelihoods, hobbies, and we have identified 4 passion points, no, that we can use to tap to protect and conserve our forests. So number 1, we have yung social entrepreneurship where our BFFs can bring in together business and advocacy to promote the conservation and protection of our forests. So you can do this by supporting, of course, forest products and services of our forest-dependent community. So we have actually a list of forest products and services that you can support in our website. But siguro right now, we can enumerate siguro kahit 3, no? So number 1, we have yung ginger products by the Empowered Laiban Community Producers Cooperative. So they're a community partner of Miriam College, also our grantee. And the women of this co-op produce mga ginger jelly, candy, tea, powder. Aside from, of course, doing yung reforestation work for Laiban Rizal. And then number 2, we also have yung sayang walang mapakita. But number 2, we also have yung Pandan Handicrafts of the Second Weaver. So they're known as the oldest ethnic group in the Philippines. And the Tagbanwa are renowned for their pandan weaving tradition. So yun, they have mga bags and other woven products that represent the initiatives of indigenous women weavers naman to integrate forest protection and environmental protection with livelihood. So if you're into weaving, baka you might want to check out their products. Again, nasa website naman namin yung list with the photos. And then we also have woven banig. So if you're into pagde-decorate ng bahay ngayon, ganyan. So you might want to check out their products because aside from generating their own source of income, their 34 women weavers and embroiderers in Samar are also trying their best to preserve yung traditional method of weaving kasi medyo nawawala na yung umuunti na lang sila gumagawa while also conserving the environment by using sustainable materials like yung mga dye, etc. Again, nasa website namin yon. So, but siguro on your own, if you don't want to buy yung mga ganito, you might also want to incorporate forest conservation in your business or in your workplace. So I think yung mga madadali that we can do, we can engage responsible suppliers, channel a part of our profit to support conservation work, or even just raise awareness by including forest conservation in your messaging. So baka we can post about World Rangers Day, Day of the Forest, ganyan. But if you want to do more, you can also send us siguro an email. So we actually have a partnerships unit. So you can email us at partnerships@forestfoundation.ph. So we've worked with mga corporations, mga smaller enterprises. Yung iba rin, parang mga groups lang of students who would like to donate or do more. So we can accommodate those rin. And then number 2, you can also tap your passion for mindful and responsible travel through ecotourism, since slowly nag-open up na rin naman yung mga provinces in the Philippines. So by traveling locally, of course, kasi by knowing the forests of the country, we would be able to understand why we need to protect and conserve them better. And of course, we should travel responsibly when we go to these places. So we should practice yung leave no trace principles, support yung local economy, di ba, by purchasing yung mga products in the provinces. And I think to the best of our ability, we should try to get to know yung mga tao na nandun sa ecotourism destinations para din maintindihan natin kung paano natin siguro sila mas matutulungan, or baka may linkages between yung mga activities na ginagawa natin, hindi lang natin napapansin right now. And third, through arts and culture. So we believe na yung best friends of the forest embody their advocacy and express it through their many talents. So I think you can produce mga artwork or advocacy products that include forest protection and conservation by amplifying conservation issues. So kunwari, you can feature mga native plant and animal species among others. Kasi di ba yung cherry blossoms, very popular siya. But slowly, nag-gain na ng traction yung native trees natin, thankfully. So yung mga ganong maliliit na bagay, parang iisipin natin, baka wala lang. Pero actually, very impactful siya kasi yung growing interests natin sa native trees really help us na ma-protect and conserve yung mga native species natin. And siguro, if you want to level up, you may want to apply for a grant like Ayan and where to next for this. Kasi this is something that the foundation really supports rin. And of course, at the heart of every BFF is the passion for conservation. So siguro by trying to get to know more the science behind conservation, by siguro doing more researches, or even by studying more, you can actually contribute na rin ng malaki, impactfully. So we believe that everyone has the potential to change, not just the forests, but the world, and leave it better than we all found it. That's why we must all take action. And yung mission na yon, of course, starts today after this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Shen. Bukas na bukas or tonight na. And I love that there's so many pathways talaga for women to be able to protect the forest. And I think the resounding theme among the suggestions of Shed is like just being mindful and just being intentional in the way we purchase our things, in the way we conduct our business, and also in the way we move and interact with the local communities that we encounter during our travels. And for me, one tip din is just to be able to go outside. Ngayon na pwede na tayo medyo lumabas at hindi lang nakadungaw sa may window. If you're able to do some grounding exercises, if you have a patch of land or a park, then hopefully that helps you reconnect more with the natural world and empowers you to think of more ideas and ways that we can protect and conserve our forests. All right, so many more ideas. You can visit forestfoundation.ph to know more about Forest Foundation Philippines advocacies. And again, please keep the comment section going. Please share your takeaways because you will have a chance to win a box of essentials from Forest Foundation Philippines. So maraming salamat, Shen. I think we will see you in a bit. And thank you so much for empowering women conservationists to make changes, not just for ourselves, not just for our families, but for our country and in a way our world, because all of this, we all coexist together. Thank you, Shen.
Thank you, Aya.
All right. So our next segment is hashtag I am worthy of life. So how do we contribute positively and how do we contribute to impactful change to fight for life? So one of the ways we want to share this is through the conserving and restoring of biodiversity by empowering our forest rangers. So our next guest, she actually lives in one of the most beautiful islands, which is Palawan, and she has dedicated her career in conserving our biodiversity in the Philippines through sustainable development, restoration, and the creation of parks and protected areas. I've known Nella for years, and this has always been her dream for a lot of us Filipinos to have national parks that we can enjoy and to have rangers who have livable wages and be able to have that protection that they need in order to protect what is rightfully ours. So she founded Eco Exploration, a social enterprise that raises environmental awareness through biodiversity camps, ecotourism, and online educational content. And later on, she also founded a nonprofit organization, the Philippine Parks and Biodiversity. Nella is not one to post selfies during her travels. So if you look at her Instagram page, hashtag Nella L, it is actually filled with breathtaking nature shots, wonderful profiles and stories from indigenous communities, and really stories also from forest rangers, the ones that are in the ground protecting and conserving our biodiversity. And so let us actually welcome my friend Nella to learn more about her journey.
Hi, Ayan, and hi to everyone watching. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Love. I call Ayan Love, by the way, for the very heartfelt introduction. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
And while I know so much about your work, the Bellas would, of course, be very interested and curious. So, can you tell us more about what Philippine Parks and Biodiversity, and also to an extent, eco exploration, what is that all about and what is your mission?
Okay, so I think you did a good job in introducing these organizations, but I'll just give a brief context. So, Eco Explorations, our mission is to conserve the Philippines' natural and cultural heritage and to provide socioeconomic impact to the communities that we represent and that we're partnered with. And as Ian mentioned previously, we do this through sustainable nature-based tourism and education. Our mission is really to bring people closer to nature so that they can become conservation advocates, like Shen mentioned previously, best friends of the forest. To us, it's really best friends of nature in the communities that protect nature. It's very important to me personally also that education is key, because I've seen and I've become an embodiment of it also, that once you educate yourself and immerse yourself in nature, then you really get to understand and really understand deeper what needs to be done to protect it. And that's what Eco Explorations does. Recently, actually 3 years ago, 2019, we launched the Education Explorations program, and we're really, really happy because kids and youth and even their parents come with us to these nature-based experiences, and they learn at a young age what our country really has to offer in terms of our natural heritage and what they can do to protect it. So that's Eco Explorations, and as you mentioned, so the nonprofit organization is Philippine Parks and Biodiversity. So I founded this with a group of conservationists, and I'm glad to be leading this organization where we're really focused on the sustainable development and the restoration of our protected area and park partners, and really, really want to see more parks all over the Philippines, not just in the mountain areas, but also like in urban cities. And that's also what we're trying to do with partners such as the local government and the national government. So we're really excited for the different programs that will benefit not just the environment, but also the communities that depend on it.
Thank you so much, Love. I'm always in awe, though I've heard that a lot of times, but I think it's always amazing to see how much could be done when you actually put your heart into it. So, but people might be listening, the Bellas might be thinking, like, oh, that's great. But how does someone get into the conservation? What is the journey like? So, tell us more about both the ups and downs of this
Sure,
life.
sure,
And
Siga.
how can
So I'll share about
someone
my journey. It's a very personal journey, and it's also how Echo Explorations was born and the pillars that we stand for. Because I really started as an explorer of the Philippines, of the world, visiting the different protected areas that we have, the national parks, immersing myself, visiting mountains, visiting coastal communities. And it's really because of my immersion and my deep relationship with nature. It took like a decade of exploring before I decided, okay, I'm leaving the corporate world and I'm venturing into this advocacy that I'm really passionate about. So to me, it was really a personal experience where, because of my experience in nature, knowing intimately, the biodiversity that we have, seeing them firsthand, meeting the communities who actually protect our forests, our different habitats on ground, and that's what really made me become a conservation advocate. And so I would really say that being immersed in nature really does wonders, not just for your mental health, but also it transformed me in many ways. I've seen the transformation it has done, and that really jump started my conservation journey because it's very close to me. You know what they say, that you can't protect what you don't love, and you can't what is that, you can't protect what you don't love, and you can't love something that you don't know, right? That's a quote. And so how could you love something if you don't know it, right? If you don't know it intimately. And that's why that's really my conservation journey. It's really being immersed in nature, and hopefully more Bellas will be immersed and be best friends of the forest and best friends of nature.
agree? So it's always that comment that you have to start immersing yourself first, exposing yourself to whatever outside means. So outside doesn't necessarily mean like up in the mountains, getting your hike gear, getting all muddy. Sometimes it's just finding a piece of land, a native tree in your neighborhood that you might be able to appreciate, and then it just starts from there. So
I've been
as
seeing you visit more of the urban parks and just, really appreciating the trees around you in Quezon City, right? And I think that's a start also.
Yeah, agree. And sometimes we don't even know that the parks are there, that they're actually within our grasp. But if we actually take a look, research a bit, immerse ourselves in their presence, then maybe that's enough at the start. And then eventually it gets the ball rolling and you'd want to do more. But bringing it back to the challenges in this space, so one of the challenges in most socioeconomic organizations, whether it's nonprofit, social enterprise, is of course funding. So how do you usually mobilize fundraising programs, especially since as a nonprofit you don't actually create profitable projects? So how does the money flow?
Yeah. So before I jump into different tacticals that we actually do, and what helps us in funding our different projects and programs, I think I'd like to take it back to one of the values that I really believe in, and what the organizations that I represent strives to embody is really authenticity. So I think that in anything in life, you really need to be authentic, in your care and compassion for communities and environment, authentic in what you stand for, authentic in how you use your voice, and authentic in how you represent your different your mission, right? Authentic in in communicating and in your relationships, whether it's professional and personal. And so I think that being authentic has really helped us in the relationships that we have professionally, right? Because it's really founded on trust, right? Brands who will donate to you will need to trust you, and also really value the work that you do. So for me, that's really the culture that we want to create, is really authenticity, and that, I believe, draws people closer to our mission and what we stand for. I've seen it really that it really helps to become that. And ilan times ko na nasabi yung authentic na word, but it's really being authentic, right? And speaking your truth, and in representing the communities that you represent and what you stand for. And so in terms of in terms of the fundraising that you were sharing, so number one, this is the one that takes a lot of hard work, technical knowledge that's put into it. Like, number one is grants. So thank you, Forest Foundation, for believing in us, Christ. But yeah, but yeah, thank you so much. But yeah, it's really, so we number one, we apply for conservation grants. Number two, because you can't also just depend on grants for your survival. So we devised a couple of creative financing schemes to really fundraise and to fund the projects that we do. So we're also big on engaging the private sector. So the private sector, there are brands that really, like you, right? You're Where to Next. You believed in our brand because I believe we have an authentic relationship with Where to Next and you, right? So you were doing creative fundraising where you would sell your merchandise, right? And the proceeds of that would go to Philippine Parks and Biodiversity. We've been very grateful that big brands the past year, global brands like Insight Timer, one of the largest meditation global apps, partnered with us and did film screenings for forest rangers, activated their community. Johnny Walker also helped our wildlife conservation efforts, and we partnered with Mabuaya and Philippine Eagle Foundation, and they also contributed to our other projects. So I've seen that, if you engage the private sector, they also have the social responsibility towards the environment. Sometimes you just need to present yourself, or for us, we were lucky that they were actually the ones who reached out to us. And I believe it's because we were really authentic in conveying our story. And that's why I'm sure you believe in this. It's really, storytelling is also key, very key to achieving or to connecting with people, especially nowadays with the digital age. So we also do creative fundraising schemes for those Bellas who are interested in fundraising, or you do fundraising in your school. So we devise like various creative programs, such as the Adopt a Tree program, where we plant trees and they're tagged with the names of the people, and they can adopt as little as 150 pesos. The Support a Ranger program is one of our biggest campaigns, our programs actually. And so we did this together, right? For as little as 50 pesos, you can contribute to, whether it's supplying gear for rangers or rebuilding the bridge that was destroyed that indigenous peoples and the rangers were using in the protected area. What we really strive to show people is that it doesn't take you don't need like a million pesos to contribute, right? It could be as little as 50 pesos, or even sometimes like 10 pesos, and collectively we can make a big difference. And so we've really seen that work well with us. And of course, we also can't just rely on donations. So we also have immersive activities that earn, such as the Eco Tours of Eco Explorations, where we donate the proceeds to conservation activities in our programs, educational camps, virtual learning experiences, also livelihood programs with communities that earn for them, and it also contributes to the sustainability of our organization. So all of these, we have to, that's the hard work in conservation, since, like you said, it's not as if you can really, it has to profit for your projects, but not for yourself, right? And there's a lot of hard work involved in it, but you just need to really be as creative as possible as how you convey your story, your truths, the mission, the vision, right? And devise strategies that will engage communities across the board.
Thanks, Nala. So I think like the main theme nga is authenticity. Like if you really love and you're passionate about what you do and the kind of work that you have with your local communities, then this will be something that other people would like to be part of, whether it's through partnerships, brand merchandise, fundraising. You'd be surprised that sometimes high school students, right, they would fundraise to
they're so amazing. The high school
the
students, they really do for their own schools, in their own, like, what do you call it, the organization, the club, they really think. And yung mga fan clubs of like we've also had like fan clubs of, let's say, celebrities that they would pledge for the celebrity, you know.
So everyone is welcome. The more of us that are here, no matter the age, no matter the profession, it always makes it much more meaningful. So as apart from like donating through the Giving Hero app, what are other ways that private sector or individuals can support your biodiversity projects, either like from the comforts of their own home? So alert level 1, medyo nakakalabas na, but in case they can't really go to the camps, or they, apart from the donation portals, what are other ways that they can take part in the conservation work?
So I'm also really, we're both big on communities, right, Ayan, or the organization. So I'm really big on community engagement and community building. And this doesn't just mean the communities on ground, like the forest rangers that we support and work with, but also really just creating communities of people who use their time, their resources to contribute. So, like example for Philippine Parks and Biodiversity, we're really proud and happy and so thankful to our various committee members. So like we have a partnerships committee, an events committee, a communications and creatives committee, and of course we have paid staff, but also like a lot are volunteers, and they do such amazing work in creating our creative illustrations, which educate about the environment and sustainability, help us in terms of our fundraising, in terms of our partnerships, right? In really creating meaningful work. So, you know, you don't need to contribute monetarily. It could be just like using your skills, like you're good at, let's say, mounting events. Our whole events team, they're all volunteers, and we've mounted like a lot of events the past year, educational events attended by thousands. And that's really amazing to see, you know, because, you know, you just need to mobilize and activate a community of people who care. And again, it goes back to authenticity, because if you're not gonna lead with authenticity, you know, how can the people lead with authenticity and just really contribute, devoting their time and resources or themselves, right? So that's one. So it's not we're not saying just volunteer to Philippine Parks. You know, there's also a lot of other amazing organizations around. I'm sorry about my dog; he's trying to get my attention.
It's okay.
But anyway, so like there's a lot of wildlife conservation groups that you can volunteer in, right? Be a citizen scientist, you know. Also, Shen said it earlier, it's like really educate yourself, because like how could you, like I said, it's important to know what we have, so that when you talk to people about it, and where you also educate other people and try to create an impact, then you're really coming from a place of knowledge and education, right? So I really believe that we should be familiarize ourselves with what we have in the Philippines, what we can do to effectively conserve the wildlife, the biodiversity that we have. So those are things that you could do from the comforts of your own home, right? Read. During the pandemic, I read 100 journals on like protected area management, forest restoration, you know, like everything that I really wanted to be more knowledgeable about, and and everything I wanted to do to become a better conservationist. I did that. And everyone can do that also from the comforts of your own home, you know, be a better citizen and responsible citizen by educating yourself, and of course, like this has been talked about many times, but you know, choosing more sustainable options. Like I remember my friend one time, like she brought this pate from Africa, and it was from zebra meat, you know. So I think stuff like that, like becoming more conscientious about like what you consume, like really checking the ingredients, you know, what you used, was anything harmed in the process of purchasing this, becoming a more responsible consumer. I think you can do that from the comforts of your own home. So hope that helps, Bellas, and hopefully more and more of you guys will become best friends of the forest and of nature.
Thank you so much, Nella. One of the Bellas actually mentioned, as a starter, I've been using reusables. This is Jana Bonaventura, like face pads, invested in bamboo cutlery, and I'm also thinking of switching to a menstrual cup. Yay. So all of those are small wins and things we can do at home. And just actually using things that you already have at home, that's already part of being mindful and trying to live more sustainably. And as mentioned by Nella, it's matching something that you are passionate about, something that you enjoy, to a cause that actually matters to a lot of people, or to the causes that we believe in. So in some ways, you don't have to go super outside of your comfort zone. If you enjoy doodling, then doodle native trees or local wildlife so that more people will get to know it. And if you love cooking, then you can cook in batches so that you lessen your food waste. So there's so many ways. And again, if you'd like to learn more about what Nella has been doing, please visit philippine parks and biodiversity.org, or also check them out on Instagram or Facebook, as well as Eco Explorations. So any other links or things that they can check out, Nella, before we conclude this part of our
Well,
workshop?
thank you for the opportunity for sharing that. So just head on over to our social media pages, Philippine Parks and Biodiversity and Eco Explorations, and maybe hopefully see you in one of the Eco Explorations one of these days. We'll be having learning visits in Ipo Watershed soon, also supported by Forest Foundation for Schools in Sierra Madre, but also we will be hosting our own for private sector and individuals, of course, following carrying capacities and COVID protocols.
Exciting. And also visit bit.ly/adopt-a-tree-ph, another way for you to learn more and get involved in some of Nella's projects. And thank you, love. Love again. Since hashtag I am worthy of love. And I'll see you in a bit for our Q&A and other games. So see
Salamat
you.
again. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so many learnings. I noticed in the comment section, Ariel also mentioned she's been reading a lot of things, and it really shows and speaks your passion in conservation. That is true. So kung naka 100 journals in Nella, even just one book or one article or one blog is already a good start for us. Me, I also like podcasts. That's one way to get into it. If you don't like reading, there's always a different format or platform that you can try. Now, speaking of hashtag I am worthy, worthiness is actually something that begins deep in our hearts. It's really an internal, long process. Change and life go hand in hand with our heart's desires. So, our next speaker actually fights with heart. And I am honored to welcome Attorney Gertie Mayo Anda, who's an environmental attorney with over 25 years of field-based practice in environmental advocacy and community-based resource management work here in the Philippines. Attorney Gertie established the Environmental Legal Assistance Center, or ELAC, in 1990, and it is now one of the Philippines' most active NGOs in working to empower communities and local stakeholders that protect our natural resources. She is currently the executive director of ELAC, and lawyering for our forests, protecting and conserving the Philippines' last ecological frontier. Bellas, please welcome Attorney Gertie. So, hi, Attorney.
There, okay.
Hello.
Mayad na temprano from Palawan. Mayad na hapon. Magandang hapon. Good. Actually, it's good
Gabi
evening.
na.
Gabi na, it's not hapon. It's really an honor and a privilege to be able to interact with you, Ayen, and hearing Nelia, her stories. These are all inspiring narratives that we should continue to take stock of. And also looking at the comment section, I'm glad that we have Bellas from all over the world and all over the country. So it's good to be here. Mabuhay! Mabuhay ang kababaihan.
Mabuhay ang mga kababaihan. And since you mentioned that you were inspired by Nella's stories and the stories of our Bellas, now it's our turn to hear yours. So what inspired you to start your conservation journey?
It's actually Mother Nature and the people I've worked with. Having studied in a Catholic school, and we had to read a lot of these encyclicals, and the stewardship of God's creation in nature is something that was embedded in us. And therefore, when you serve the poor and serve the marginalized, it's also important to see that they can only survive, and all of us can survive better if Mother Nature is protected. So if you see the coral reefs, the forest, the mangroves, the wildlife still alive, healthy, alive and kicking, then it matters. And these are things that continue to inspire me. I mean, all these years, for about 30 years, modesty aside, because like the stories of Nelia, your story, Shen's stories, all of that, if only they can be duplicated or replicated and more people would understand and be moved to action, that's why people inspire me. Okay, that's one. And of course, looking again, as I said, at our natural resources, you look at the mangroves, how they beckon you, the birds there. Unfortunately, they're being destroyed because of certain projects which are not studied well. And pardon me for saying this, but because governance continues to be a challenge in this country, therefore you see a lot of forests being converted to monocrop plantations, being deforested because we want to build certain infrastructure projects, which we would need, but not some of them are not studied well, or extractive projects like mining. So essentially, all these resources, I call them Mother Nature and people, continue to inspire me in this journey.
How inspiring. So all of us can survive better if Mother Nature is protected. That is totally something that has been a theme all over this conversation. Na hindi lang siya para sa kanila or para sa mga puno. It's really para sa atin lahat. So some of the you mentioned some of the challenges involved in conservation work and how there's so much more room for progress here in our country. What are some of your lessons that you learned as you implement your projects? What are you most proud of? And ano naman yung mga challenging aspects of it?
For lessons, I think we really have to understand that everything goes through a process. And because there is a process, you have to be patient and you have to be persevering. Example, if you say that you want to stop a destructive project, you cannot do that immediately, especially if you see that there are certain people are part of the problem. Some of them may be local officials. So what do you have to do in that case? And there is a remedy. Because I'm a lawyer, you did this and that. And then people say, ang tagal naman, attorney. I said, well, that is the process. So you understand. And then if it really becomes so tedious, then creativity and innovativeness are also engendered in the process. Because you then think of what would be a better way. Probably not a case. Probably the use of social media. Probably citizens' petition. Probably a dialogue. Probably an advocacy campaign. So then you become resourceful, creative, innovative in the process because you understand that the process is complicated. A second aspect of that is the role of science. Because if you want to protect nature, you have to understand that there's an explanation why mangroves can be effective in insulating us from storm surges. And they are habitats of wildlife, and they give us food. And if we reclaim 1,000 hectares of mangroves, you reclaim it for what? What would be the purpose? Okay? And therefore, it has to be studied. When you reclaim, you build a road, and you convert 1,000 hectares of mangroves, or you want to build a road cutting across the Sierra Madre forest. That's actually an issue now. The Sierra Madre is as a park. But then why do you allow a road cutting across an old-growth forest? So then you start to think, where is science there? And when you talk of science, you look into cost-benefit analysis. You think of valuation. Ano ba mas mahalaga? Anong mas matimbang? Okay? In the studies that we have had with conservation groups and government, in the study of Mount Matilingahan Protected Landscape, there was a 2008 study which showed, Ian, that if you will protect the forest there, the value of the forest, the carbon, the oxygen, the non-timber forest products would be 266 billion pesos. But if you allow the area to be mined, the government will only get 15 billion. So you see, the value of ecosystems, goods, and services far outweigh, any type of extractive project or extractive activity there. So science is very, very important. And process is a part of that. Now, people sometimes do not understand that and say, hindi, kailangan na i-resettle yung mga tao dito because it's important, it's politically palatable, and you destroy mangroves in the process. That is really most unfortunate, and I've seen that. But then, the third lesson to me is because we do have laws, laws and policies are only as good as their implementation. So enforcement is a big challenge. And when you talk about implementation and enforcement, you talk about governance. Who should enforce? Are they paid? Nelia was talking about forest rangers. Do they have incentives? A few of them, some of them have been killed. No insurance, So how much does the government really allocate for enforcement? Because you need the Wildlife Act to be implemented. You need the Caves Law to be enforced, the Forest Code, the Protected Areas Law, and many, many other laws. So you have to make sure that the citizens are aware that they have the right, to demand from government accountability, because that's part of governance. Because you see weaknesses. And if people will not demand that, that's part of our advocacy work, awareness building, translating awareness into citizens' actions. If you are not able to do that, then you will see violations taking place right and left. So the laws become mere rhetoric. How do you give life to the law? How do you make sure that it's well enforced? That is essentially governance. So meaning to say, there must be warm bodies on the ground that they, patrolling the seas and our forests, and then they should be well paid, and their citizens are vigilant and say, wait, there's a project there. There's no environmental impact assessment. And why is this mining activity inside Mount Matalingan protected landscape? That's not allowed by the expanded protected areas law. So all these things, and that again, my fourth lesson is awareness building and knowledge building must be a never-ending process. Education is a never-ending process. We should not get tired because you learn lessons, even me. In 30 years of work, you should know what climate resilience means. What is climate change really? What's the role of forest in making us resilient? What is the role of women in actually generating strength? The importance of women, because you do have reproductive roles. So if you destroy the watershed, that will be difficult for women. Have to get water from a river who will be polluted. So these are things that are important to note, and I've learned this the difficult way. And I think my last point is we need to actually broaden the constituency. And that is, again, another area of work. Broaden it, generate a lot of creativity. At the same time, build patience, vigilance, and perseverance among many Filipinos. Not, besides women, even the seniors, the elderly, they can do a lot. They can sign petitions. We've done that in the No to Mining in Palawan campaign years ago. And also now we have a campaign on saving Palawan's forests. So all sectors can be part of this effort. The poor and marginalized, of course, are critical players, whether indigenous peoples, fisher folk, farmers, urban poor, and even the private sector. So, and that is quite difficult to do because you see, if they see that enforcement is weak and that certain people can get away with environmental crimes, it sets a bad precedent. So I'll stop at that. There are many, many lessons, but these are some of the highlights I've learned that along the way, you have to discern them and learn to the process.
I love it, Attorney Gertie. I feel like we could go on for hours on this crash course. But just to summarize, Attorney Gertie said, you have to learn to be patient. You have to study the factors, enforce laws. because they are there for a reason, but you have to enforce them properly. Build your awareness, build your knowledge, and think of it as a lifelong commitment because the science keeps updating. We have to keep ourselves informed and educated. And the last is to welcome more people in. So broaden the constituency because we need all hands on deck. We need the scientists, we need the lawyers like Attorney Gertie, we need storytellers, we need everyone on board. And Attorney Gertie, Nella actually also lives in Palawan.
Oh,
So
yeah.
hopefully that's something that you guys can get in touch with after this segment. And I see that so many people have been inspired and they really, Charlene mentioned that education is a never-ending process that really resonated with her. So glad to see that. And a follow-up question is, so we talked about, sometimes sacrificing natural resources for extractive projects because of a business venture. So how can businesses ensure that they avoid violating conservation policies? Or what is the sweet spot or balance in moving for progress and development while still respecting our ecosystems?
We have lost, thank you for that question. We have lost on corporate social responsibility, and there are now ESG, safeguards for businesses, and there's a scorecard for some. And therefore, if you engage in a business, always identify and discern the consequences. What will be if there's a multiplier effect, okay, you generate income, but how about the waste, example that it could generate, the pollution, and the location of the business? Where should it be located? Because if it's an extractive project inside a protected area, you should know that the laws do not allow that. So there are laws for a reason, as you said, Ian, and the science is there. And example, if it's a wildlife habitat, the habitat of the pangolin, critically endangered pangolin only found in Palawan, or the Philippine kakatu only found in Palawan. So there's a lot of endemic animals here, Palawan bear cat, and yet the habitat is converted into what? An oil palm plantation, or you want to mine 2,000 hectares. I think it's good to dialogue.
Yeah.
To me, dialoguing is part of the process of enlightening each other. You do have laws, but because if governance is weak, then I think you explore remedies on how we can actually identify common areas of concern. Now, in the engagement that I've seen, sometimes you really get frustrated because the forest lost since they were converted. And I say, ay nako, if only the forest can speak and the wildlife have voices, what will they say? Baka murahin tayo. Okay? Ayayin yung mga politiko. But we are supposed to be their voices because we are stewards. So in the process of dialoguing and negotiating, there can be areas where you can agree to disagree. And you can put that on hold. Okay? Where can we agree? And then we can work on that. But if you're really so stubborn and you want to bribe your way through because you think that can be done, because corruption is still high in this country, then you will have to be faulted. So they know, because they're also responsible. There are a lot of responsible corporations, okay? It's just that we have not been able to meet, I think, the environmentalists and the small and medium-sized businesses have not been able to integrate. I think that is one area of work that we need to look into, and how we can build on each other's strengths so that by doing so, then together we can see how we can protect our forests, our coral reefs, our mangroves, and our wildlife. And that is an area of work, Ian, that requires, again, as I said, it's a tedious process because dialoguing requires, patience, but also an organized, even a mediator, a good facilitator. I've seen that. But we have been able to do that in some cases. So it can be done.
It can be done, but we need more people trying to make it work.
We need more people who understand the narratives, the history, and the science. Yes.
Thank you, Attorney Gertie. So for all the medium social enterprises there, or even Bellas who are just about to start their own business, try to identify the consequences. So apart from gaining profit, what is the ways, what are the things you have to think about as you start your business? Read up on the law, engage in dialogue. Maybe you can send an email to Attorney Gertie if you have any questions. And I really love what you said about if only our forests, our coral reefs can speak, but we don't really have to wait for that magical moment to happen. We can be stewardess. We can be the stewards to these natural resources. We can be the BFFs that they need, and it doesn't have to be something that we do alone. Okay, so many questions also. Just keep them coming. So as always, please keep your questions coming in the comment section. Add your own takeaways because you might have a chance to also win a package of meaningful essentials. So the last question, Attorney Gertie, before we do our game is how can we tap our individual passions to protect and conserve our forests?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. We should know our strengths and weaknesses. If you want to start being comfortable within your comfort zone, that's a good start. But be open-minded. Try to explore and go out of your comfort zone, probably slowly, by partnering with other people. Because there's a lot of beautiful areas in this country. We have so many majestic areas now, like not only in Lido. You go to Mindanao, Tawi-Tawi, Samar, and you will see that all these areas beckon us to do our share. So you can either just not plant or manage your waste or recycle, but you can sign a petition in our advocacy campaign. Put your voice there, okay? Put our Panatang Makabayan to life. I always remind every time I do seminars, I said, we memorize our Panatang Makabayan in Ibig Ko Pilipinas, but are we doing it really? Okay, for our future generations, for our country. And when you do understand where you are and you're comfortable to partner, you will realize that there are several opportunities. We're not lacking in laws and programs. Of course, there will be problems. That's a reality. But always look at the good practices. There can be good practices, successes, no matter how small, deserve to be celebrated. And that means we should also rest. Be mindful of our mental well-being, our health, especially, we've been subjected to COVID. So all these little things have to be part of the things that we should be mindful of.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Attorney Gertie. So go beyond your comfort zone, meaning get to know other people, get to know other conservationists, also learn the value of rest. That because this is a lifelong commitment, not everything has to be done this month or this year. Learn to also make sure that you take a step back, detach yourself from the project so that you have the energy, the fight in you in order to dive right back in. Okay, so Attorney Gertie, thank you so much. You'll stay with us because we're actually going to do a quick game. And I will invite back our panelists, Nella, Shen, and also Pia, who is our speaker who you will get to know better after this segment. So everyone, I'm waiting for you to turn on your video. Okay, great. So we're going to have a segment called Fast Talk. So it's a quick fire round where I basically say something and then you have to tell me what comes to mind. So you don't have to explain it. You don't have to overanalyze. It's just whatever is in your mind, just say it out loud. So we're going to do it in alphabetical order. So in a way, it will be Attorney Gertie first, then Nella, then Pia, then Shen, if tama yung alphabetical order in my head. So we'll do this in 2 minutes in total. And again, just one word, quick answers. So is it all clear? Are you ready? Game? Okay. So this is for Attorney Gertie. Time starts now. Attorney Gertie, women you look up to.
Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, and Marie Curie.
Okay, great. Nella, best girl band.
Can I say a boy band Coldplay?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, girl band. Wait. Send help. Ayan. Send help.
Spice Girls.
Spice Girls.
Girl band.
Spice Girls.
Oh well, that counts because I liked them when I was a kid.
What an explanation. What else? One word. Thank you. Ideal getaway, Pia.
Underwater, scuba diving, beach.
Your favorite song, Shen, and you have to sing it.
Favorite, sorry.
Song.
Song. Naku, Taylor Swift. Ano na lang. I remember it all too well.
I love it. Attorney Gertie, favorite book?
The Politics of Lagi by Marites Vito.
Oh.
Yes.
Please add that to the comment section so that they can read it after. Nella, a change that you wish for?
Since it's coming soon, good governance for the Philippines, and really one where we prioritize not just the environment, but really the welfare of the Filipino people, because the Filipinos really deserve a lot.
Super agree. I think that's all something we want. Next is Pia. Fill in the blanks. I am worthy of.
I am worthy of growth, but I think we are worthy of good governance. I would re-echo that.
And that's it. Oh my gosh, ang bilis. Quick answers talaga. In case anyone has any other question they'd like to add, feel free to type it in the comment section. But that was quite fun. I think we can maraming nuggets of wisdom there that we can read more about or we can discuss more. And speaking of fun, you may also join the Belvedere community and record yourself singing and using the audio of a rendition of All of You by the famous Disney Encanto. All right. So before we proceed with our segment, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you first to our panelists, Attorney Gertie, Nella, Shen, and later on we will get to know Pia even more. So for now, another thing you can be part of is if you join the Belvedere community, you can record yourself singing and using the audio of the rendition All of You by the famous Disney Encanto. It's not Moonstar 88 levels, but it's empowering you to believe in yourself. So we invite you to get your colorful outfits and sing with us. So this is a Sing for Change challenge. Just record yourself and get a chance to be featured by submitting your entries. Just tag us on social media at I Love BDJ and using the hashtag I am worthy. So the best takeaway contest reminder, keep those comments coming in because Forest Foundation Philippines will pick the best takeaway later to receive a gift pack of much needed sustainable essentials. Okay, so we are on to our final segment for tonight, which is something that I'm very passionate about, which is hashtag I am worthy of art. So we talk a lot about passion, things that we enjoy, and how we can use that to fuel meaningful change. And life is really so much more beautiful with art. And we deserve to be surrounded by it. We deserve to hear stories and even write our own stories. And someone who is also very passionate about this is our fourth speaker, Pia Duran. So Pia Duran explores society through the arts. Her documentary films have been shown locally and internationally, and she chooses stories that focus on basic human rights, support pro-people legislation in the Philippine Congress, and she really tries to create immersive pieces and connect policy advocacies to the hearts of the audience. Pia is currently developing her first feature documentary film named Bantay Bukid or Forest Guards about the environmental defenders that protect the Philippine eagle and its home. So this is something that is supported by our partner Forest Foundation Philippines. Aside from filmmaking, Pia also likes reading books, mountain climbing, diving, and also grinding coffee beans. So, Bellas, let us all give a warm welcome to Pia Duran for hashtag I am worthy of art.
Hello. Hello.
Hi,
Thank
Pia.
you.
How are
Hi,
you
Aya.
feeling after listening to all these stories?
I'm super, super inspired by these ladies. Like, wow.
Wow. Yeah, good evening, Ian. Thank you. And hello, Bellas.
And I'm actually very curious about your own story. So, how do you choose which narratives you want to tell or which ones you want to highlight in your film? And how do you come up with ideas? So, go walk us through your storyboard.
How do I come up with my ideas? So basically, ideas are everywhere. Like the conversation you hear in the market or the day-to-day conversation, or even right now in the webinar. I mean, I learned a lot from these ladies. Books, movies. So these are idea spaces. So siguro me as an artist, I have a parking space of idea. I would call it parking space. So I cut out cars, like paper cars, and then I write down some of my ideas for a film. Like for example, I have this crazy idea of making a 10-year documentary film documentary film about like um let's say labor movement, or a short film about women who's trying to take up space, or let's say a documentary about sea rangers, mga ganun. So documentary or even comics or painting, so anything art related, or even initiatives outside art. So yun, so I'm just trying to come up with ideas and just write it down kasi we never know kung kailan siya materialize, because if for example like last year, I made a short film about brass casters of indigenous peoples here in Mindanao. And then yung idea na yun is 3 years na siya na idea, and na-materialize siya last year. So I think ganun, ideas are just dynamic, it's just there. I just have to write it down para hindi makalimutan. So yun, so I think how do I choose my story? I think related talaga siya with what Nella also said, is authenticity. I mean, you have to relate to your core if what you really want to say. Kasi we live for the art. We don't die for the art eh. We live for the art. That's why we want also na our artworks may patutunguhan siya. So yun. So and maybe we will discuss this later with my Forest Guards film. Ganun. So yun.
Ganda. I love the parking space of ideas. Now I also want post-it my car. Maybe mine is garden of ideas, and I just put like pots and like have a idea there. And I love that what you mentioned about like ideas are just everywhere, whether it's going to the palengke, narinig niyo yung mga ate, kung ano pinag-uusapan nila, yung mga nanay dyan sa may kapitbahay nyo. All of those are sources of stories. If we take the time to listen and eventually act on it, like what Pia mentioned about the story that she worked on, that was like 3 years in the making. Okay, super exciting. So your work is actually, while your ideas are like everywhere, it's also very supportive of a particular theme, which is human rights and advocacies, like environmental defense. So how are you able to bridge the artistic bubble of filmmaking and the many layers of policy making? Because those two usually don't go hand in hand.
Yeah, yun din yung assumption with filmmaking and policy making. So I'm gonna take you back kung saan ako na-influence, greatly influenced of why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So I have a mentor. She's a documentary filmmaker. Her name is Ditsi. And then she made films, documentary films na very, very instrumental with lobbying policies. Like for example, the juvenile justice law, with her film Bunso or Minsan Lang Sila Bata, or even the comprehensive agrarian reform with her Lupang Hinarang film. So I mean, the title pa lang, Lupang Hinarang. So yun, as her mentor ko siya, and then ayun, parang na-realize ko na, ala, gusto ko tong gawin. And then, since 2019, I started making films. So nagkaroon din ako ng opportunities to do that. So I think I would also share like a tangible short films I made na support with a policy. Like for example, the Human Rights Defenders Protection Bill. So my team and I made short films about it, like a documentary, animation short film, and then yun yung ginamit or a package for to lobby the bill So right now, the bill is in the Congress. It's already passed, and then pupunta na siya sa Senate. So we really need good governance or people, pro human rights people in the Senate soon to lobby this policy. So ayun, so that's one. And maybe number two, it's not a film, it's just a short video. But we made about child brides in Maguindanao. And it was also used to pass the ending child marriages. I think it was a law last year or maybe earlier this year. So yun. So yun yung thrust ng aking, I would say, art or I would say craft na may kalapit siya na policy advocacy. So ayun. So yun. So maybe for the Forest Guards film, yun din yung goal to like make an immersive piece for people to understand why we need, na-mention kanina with Forest Ranger, ni Nella, ni Attorney, na there's a need kasi wala silang social benefits. Like they patrol thousands of hectares but wala silang health access. Super limited yung health access, social benefits, even the incentives. So, ayun, there's this kind of challenges na we need also to address. So yun, I think that's the goal of the film also. So yeah.
Yeah, I super agree. So they don't normally go hand in hand, but when they actually do, like grabe yung power or impact niya. Because I remember also like watching one of the Tamaraw documentaries in Iglit Bako, and sobrang naiyak talaga ako because I didn't know that, you know, they were basically contractual, even though they've been protecting and risking their lives for our endemic wildlife, which is the Tamaraw. So parang sobrang iba yung impact niya for a normal citizen to be able to really witness through a film, through a story piece, the situation on the ground. And it doesn't just go beyond it can go beyond awareness because it can actually lead to legislation. As you mentioned, yung child brides in Maguindanao, eventually parang, oh, nangyayari pala to, alam ng mga tao, anong pwede natin gawin in order to combat this issue. So it really opens up minds. So I hope that there are more filmmakers, writers, artists out there that might take on this baton as well. Alam ko minsan I think may idea na nakakatakot din siya. So parang you kind of risk yourself if you go into that territory. So I guess my follow-up question is, like, do you ever feel scared with the stories that you tell, and how do you prepare yourself emotionally for the stories that you are going to encounter and that you're going to put out in the world?
Yeah, so basically before going in the area, I think it's my responsibility also to make sure that my team and I are secured. That's like really one of the top most priority, because if ever na may mangyari sa amin, we can't tell stories anymore. So that's like really one, like the security. And then let's say yun, security siya. And then two, of course, it's risky, but I feel like I just want to do it. Ayun yung I don't know, maybe I don't think we need a lot of explanation on why we are doing what we are doing. I mean, that's what I really realize when here in art, kasi I can choose naman stories outside danger zone eh. But I'm not sure. Pinupull talaga ako ng stories na ito. So I don't really know, Ayan.
Yun talaga yung I think it's your purpose. So another follow-up question is, there is a misconception that doing art can only be afforded by the rich. I've encountered this also in our line of work. Oh, you're able to do storytelling, you're able to be a creative full-time kasi siguro mayaman yung mga magulang mo. So how are you able to do your art considering the financial challenges in film production? Just getting permits in the Philippines is already tough. So walk us through naman the financial side of filmmaking.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. No, lumalabas talaga siya na isang aspeto na storytelling or filmmaking are for the rich because one would be limited ang funding like sa state. That's why kailangan kumayod ng mga artist. So ayun, so I think I would like to debunk that kasi in regional films, parang in regional here in Mindanao, kasi kaya let's say naghihiraman kami ng equipment or if ever pwede limited lang muna yung pay ko for you and then I'll pay you the next time. I mean, that's the reality of art.
Yeah.
Because little lang yung funding. So we have to strategize kung paano namin i-shoot. Like for example, we will spend 1 week shoot and then we have to maximize kung ano mga sequences ang kailangan namin i-shoot niyan. So yeah, I would say being in an art scene, may financial challenges talaga and it is inevitable.
So being an artist, that means you also have to get creative with funding. Meaning, discarded talaga siya. So as mentioned by Pia, sometimes it's renting equipment rather than purchasing it. Making sure you maximize a shoot day kung kayang madami. And sometimes it's also just getting a little bit of help from your friends who are also very passionate about the cause you believe in. Sometimes you choose projects that you do in order to pay your bills, and then you
Yes.
choose projects that you do because it fills your life with meaning. And I think there's room for both. And speaking of things that fill your life with meaning, your documentary on Bantay Bukid really sounds exciting. Can you tell us more about it?
So it's 4 years old na siya. So I started it in 2019. So it's hopefully it will be a feature-length documentary film about forest guards. So sila yung mga bantay bukid in Mount Apo, protecting the Philippine eagle and its home. So the goal of the film really is to make an immersive piece on the socio-economic status of our forest guards, the coalition of organizations to protect the forest, as what Attorney Gertie mentioned earlier, is to build constituency, which is kailangan talaga siya. And then number 3 would be the motivation of the younger generation. Like sa ngayon, parang we go to indigenous peoples communities, we meet tribal chieftains, but also Forest Guards film would also like to highlight also anong motivation ng younger generation in protecting the forest. So yun, hopefully matapos na siya. And thank you Forest Foundation for the grant. Woo! So ayun. Yep.
Exciting. I'm really looking forward to watching it in person, and maybe may film by then, may ano na tayo, film showing na in person then. Hindi na ba yun?
Yes.
Hopefully. And yeah, as mentioned, apart from like watching your films, how can Bellas and other women who are very interested in conservation support initiatives such as yours?
Okay, so I would really I love collaboration. Like me, I love collaboration like artists, animators, or comic artists, or painters, or even organizations na pwede makapag-collaborate. So I think that's one way of supporting artists or supporting initiatives like this. And second would be there are a lot of talents in the Philippines. Hindi lang siya na ma-maximize or hindi siya nabibigyan ng opportunities. So I hope storytellers, artists are given these opportunities to tell their stories more. Ayun, I think ganun yung pwedeng what do you call this one? Support or maybe distribution of the films. Maybe like example Nella, if she has like eco exploration with the kids, maybe a film can be part of it, or maybe an artwork, mga ganun, those kinds of collaboration, just to tell the narrative or to share the narrative. Yeah.
Great. So it's not just about watching, sometimes it's hosting, and sometimes it's just collaborating. We always go back to whatever you're passionate about. That is something that can take part in the conservation conversation, and you can be a BFF while doing something that you love. Okay, thank you so much, Pia. And let's keep the ball rolling because now I'll invite everyone, all of our
Yeah.
panelists, to join us for a round of Q&A. And thank you so much to all the Bellas that are also sharing their own experiences, their questions, their takeaways in the comment section. It really feels like even though we are not physically together, I can feel the energy, and hopefully we'll get to learn more about each other through this Q&A. Okay, so we'll wait for our first question for Q&A. But apart from that, anyone that's been involved in the comment section, know that later on we will pick through Forest Foundation Philippines someone that will win a prize. And actually, super excited pala kasi one of the prizes is something we created from the Grant and Forest Foundation, which is our Life Stories deck. It's basically a deck of conversation prompts that you can do, whether it's with your friends, with your family, with the communities to belong to, so you can strike a conversation about these issues without it being so overwhelming or intimidating. We always start with easy questions like, when was the last time you went outside? What is your favorite childhood memory? And all of this can be started. It can be a seed that is planted and will eventually bloom into people getting to know more about these issues and taking part in these causes. Okay, Nella, if you can turn on your video, that would be great. And we have our first question. So, what motivates you to pursue your advocacies? Because we all know that sometimes it's very easy to begin, but it is challenging to sustain or to keep doing what you love. So, whoever wants to start, raise your hand na lang so I can call on you. Love, Nella.
Sige, sure. I guess this is something, for me, really, like, it's knowing that we're supporting a lot of communities. That really motivates me. At the same time, it's my biggest challenge also, because every day I think about, I want to be able to provide a good life to the communities that we are partnered with and represent while they do their jobs. So for me, that's really where that's where I become so driven to really be as creative as possible and to work smart and hard so that I could provide a good life to the communities that we represent while protecting the forest together, like by working with the forest rangers. So I think that's my biggest motivation. Aside from the environment, of course, it's really the lives of the people that we work with.
Agree. Knowing them by names, interacting with them, having them in your Facebook account, you're also reminded talaga of your purpose and that it goes beyond yourself. Pia, do you have anything to add?
I would just like to re-echo what Nella said. Actually, it's really the lives of the people we're working with. For me naman would be my characters in my film. So yun. So it's really it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy to climb mountains, to shoot. It's not easy, but we just keep on doing it because of people that really matters also with the environment.
Thank you so much, Pia. Attorney Gertie?
Yeah, because the resources, we still have forests, coral reefs, wildlife there. As I mentioned a while ago, that they beckon us to help them. We have to discern that when forests are destroyed or coral reefs are also destroyed in the process. You reflect and pray. Okay, I do that a lot, and then you can get a sense that they really want you there. Equally important will be the communities we work with, because I'm heavy on advocacy and legal empowerment. When I see the people knowing the law and asserting their rights, that's inspiring for me. And my last point is, this is a mission. This is a mission for the future. So, bahagi to ng tungkulin natin. And therefore, we have to do something. So those are the three things that actually motivate me. Thank you.
So para sa kalikasan, para sa komunidad, and para sa kinabukasan nating lahat. Mabuhay ka, Attorney Gertie. Shan?
I think the same lang with everyone. Siguro yung reminding ourselves na yung mission na to goes beyond our personal objectives ourselves. So, kahit siguro wag naman sana anytime soon. But pag wala na tayo, matutuloy pa rin naman siya, 'di ba? So I think yung dapat lang natin laging maalala yon. And I think siguro to add rin para ibang idea rin. I think finding your tribe, parang people with similar values, people who can help you achieve your goals, malaking factor rin siya for your sanity, to advance whatever it is that you want to pursue, di ba? When you feel defeated, I think it's good to have friends who you can confine to, or parang if may actions ka na feeling mo, sinesecond guess mo kung tama ba siya or mali, it's good to have friends who can help you reflect and be a better person after it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shan. So you're literal BFFs. And yeah, whenever I'm stressed out, knowing that Nella is doing her part, okay, gets me inspired also to keep going. And yeah, for everyone else, if you also want to share your own thoughts, feel free to type it on the comment section below. I'll just read some of the stories that you also shared. So for Jillian, I know I'm not the only one who knows that almost all women compare themselves to others, and I am one of them. We cannot deny that we are jealous of others. Why are they beautiful? We should be too. I just want to say that you need to love yourself and be proud of what you have. Accept what you have and hashtag I am worthy to be loved. Thank you so much, Jillian, for that wonderful reflection. And yes, comparison, kills joy, as they said. So there is really room for all of us to grow. There's really room for all of us to bloom. And it's a nice time. So thank you so much. And everyone else, we're waiting for our questions. Feel free to share your takeaways. And something to echo then with what Shen mentioned, na baka the change that we want to create doesn't necessarily happen in our lifetime, but because we are part of it, that is enough already. Like sometimes, hindi talaga tayo abot dun sa point where we get to that beautiful oasis or state that we want to be in. But knowing that, we push the needle forward, we are one step forward rather than backward, is already something worth celebrating. Okay, we go to our second question from Rain. What do you consider your best or most fulfilling contribution towards our ecosystem so far? So I think most fulfilling na lang, because it's so hard to like measure what is best and what metric it is, but just something that you are really proud of, and that's something that I guess also keeps you inspired as you encounter or embrace new projects. And perhaps we can hear first from Pia.
Oh, fulfilling contribution. Maybe for me, like, it's not just finishing films, but more of talking with these people, and then sharing a journey with these people, because it's not every day you get to meet them. It's not every day you get to know their stories. So that for me is fulfilling. It's not about the destination or the end of the film, but more on the journey with these people. So ayun, I think that's one of the most fulfilling aspect of this work.
Thank you, Pia. And that's something that is present always in your work. How about you, Shen?
Siguro for me, being a part of other people's conservation journeys rin, I think it's very fulfilling to be part of that journey, to be given that opportunity to know these people, to be part of their work. Yun, very fulfilling din siya for me. And I think sa foundation, kasi when the foundation started, very heavy siya on refo. Parang mainly yun yung ginagawa. But I think through the years, we've started to work with more yung mga non-traditional grantees. Like we work with creatives, younger people, because we want everyone to be a part of forest protection and conservation. Parang hindi siya parang limiting na circle. Alam mo yun, parang you don't need to do parang na parang science lang, or parang you don't need to be parang a professional para ma-pursue yun, di ba? Parang everyone merong space dito. And I think yun, being part of that space is very fulfilling for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shan. And thank you for welcoming us also into that space. When we started, a lot of the grants were really more focused on livelihood, growing forests. So the whole growing advocate portion of Forest Foundation Philippines was still quite new. But ang saya nga, if you don't gatekeep the process, if you let more people in, then there are more creative ideas and projects to pursue. Attorney Gertie, what is your
Yeah.
most proud project so far?
Modesty aside, I could think of many, but I think I'd like to emphasize seeing empowered stewards and advocates, because I'm heavy not only on litigation. Litigation is strategic, but the work on education and campaigns. When I see the communities, young people, indigenous people saying, this is our right and we want to protect this, siyempre inspired ka. That is really so good for the heart. And when you see people changing behavior, changing mindsets because they understand the, nature-based solutions or science, then I'm saying, oh my God, at least I've done my little share of, awakening and generating awareness. So those are things that, among others, of course, that inspire me, and I would like to believe that that is an important contribution in this process.
It really is. It's like empowering people to take on your work and to bring
Yes.
it in spaces that you're not able to enter yourself, because that's the part of the conversation that we have. Love, Nella, what is your most fulfilling contribution?
I guess for me, like I really just find myself like a normal, ordinary girl. And so whenever there's so much support that goes towards our advocacies, and so much people believe in what I do and what we do, that really is so fulfilling. Because yeah, for me, it's just like this is just really what I love, what I want to do, and to have people join your mission, it's really, really fulfilling. Like what Attorney Gertie said. So to be entrusted with great work is really an honor. To partner with our local and national government and various projects is very, very humbling, and also the communities on ground. So very, very thankful for the trust of our partners such as Forest Foundation.
Yes, and we are also grateful for everyone tuning in tonight. Even if you feel like this is just something you do on your spare time or free time, you're already enriching yourself with knowledge, thinking of maybe generating new ideas, and hopefully finding connections that can help you keep going. Rachel Gonzaga said, nakaka-enlighten lalo na sa mga babae. True. Like we're all here to support and empower one another. And it's really nice to see everyone's takeaway. What else are I'm just ganda. According to Charlene Patatag, ang ganda. I think we need more stories of inspiration like Pia's. Thank you so much for sending in your love. And again, if you have any takeaways, questions, or comment section, keep them coming to the comment section so that you have a chance to win one of the live stories deck from Forest Foundation Philippines during the last I Am Worthy Make Change Work for Women Plenary on Wednesday, March 30th. Okay, we now move on to our third question. So Arya also said, thank you, Attorney Gertie. It is indeed our mission to protect this home for future generations. Maraming salamat, Arya. So Jillian Costello asked, very simple but also very impactful. What would life be like without nature? And perhaps we can start with Shen.
Hirap. Siguro ano ba? I think empty yung world kasi 'di ba so much I think of the worldly beauty that we have come from nature, and of course we rely on nature for survival. So yun, feel ko lang empty yung lives natin without it.
Thank you, Shen. Pia.
It's actually a fear for me, for storytellers, artists, that maybe in the future hanggang film na lang siya or hanggang books na lang. Let's say, for example, the Philippine Eagle or the Forest. So I think, yeah, it would be dull, and it would really be dull, and it would be very unfortunate if wala na tayong nature. Yeah.
Thank you, Pia. Nella?
I really take to heart this saying that we are one with nature and not apart from it. And I really resonate with it because I believe that without nature, there's no life. Like, for me, just connecting with the tree outside my house, with the leaves, with the ocean, knowing how all of this is really a part of me and a part of our home. I really can't see life without nature, and it really is connected to my very being, our ancestors. It's part of our identity and who we are. So that's life without nature.
Thank you, Nella. Attorney Gertie?
To me, I would lose the reason. What would be your reason for being if nature will not be there? Why do you need to survive? Remember, nature doesn't need us to survive,
Yes.
but we need nature so that we are able to survive. And therefore, it will be too stressful. Life is uncertain. How can you achieve, you know, a good, well, I mean, how can you be in a good state in terms of health and mental well-being without nature? So it's extremely important. I agree with everyone. Those insights are I support, but nakakalungkot. You'll be stressed. There's uncertainty. What happens to the people? So that's really sad.
That's true. Thank you so much, Attorney Gertie. Nature can evolve without us humans. So
Yeah.
it's really in our best interest to protect and conserve it for our own preservation. We have a specific question for Attorney Gertie in the comment section.
Yeah.
We hope to open a laundry and car wash business and worry about the impact on our water lines since we live in a relatively sustainable and lush community. How can we practice conservation while still serving our neighborhood?
Well, that's a very good question, Hasmin. Thank you, Ayan. Actually, we do have a very old law about rainwater catchment. It's not something that we can do in every house because many months in a year we have rain, but we do not capture it. I see this in Cagayancillo in near where Tubataha is, although it's still far from Tubataha, where they do that and therefore they reuse. I mean the water is just there. So it would be good, Asmin, if we can have that mechanism to actually have a catchment or a process of reusing the water. Because if it's just not, if it's car wash, you can probably assess whether the water from the laundry can still be used for car wash. That has to be assessed because, of course, there's chemicals there. So I'm glad that you think about this because, after all, we do not want to really waste clean water. We need clean water, potable water to survive. So think about those options, either a rainwater catchment, putting up a mechanism or installing something where you can actually use the water from the laundry, use
Mhm.
water for washing cars. Is that possible? So I'm throwing a question because it has to be assessed. But I'm sure you can do something. And not only that, your neighbors can also. I saw the house of Kagawad, I forgot his name, no, in Cebu. It's a very, he really survives with this water from rain, and then the water is actually used for for the fish, and he has a tilapia inside his house. So that would be wonderful if, of course, he's a civil engineer, so he was able to do that. And I'm sure if the neighborhood can actually share that passion, okay, or that objective, you can do a lot. Especially when you say it's a relatively sustainable and lush community. I would imagine you will be conscious of utilizing that water. So good luck, Hasmin. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Attorney Gertie. Napaisip din ako because I just moved into a new home and I was like, oh, I didn't think about the rainwater. I always think about the food scraps, but I didn't think about rainwater. So there's always room for creativity there. And yes to saving clean water according to Dar. And And for Rachel, I'm happy to be part of this, happy to be part of the community. Thank you so much. And we are now down to our last two questions. So we have another question from Jardine. Was there a specific place that you visited that made you decide or strengthen your decision to pursue a path in conservation? Where and what was the condition? So perhaps we can start with Nella, since I know there's so many places that she visited, and I think I know the answer to this one too.
Sige nga, ano?
Mount Igritmaco in Mindoro. Yes.
Yes, that's like one of the turning points. Yeah, but in general, it's really the national parks of the Philippines. So we have the protected areas, and it consists of our national parks, national monuments, right, the protected landscapes and seascapes, and it's really visiting the various protected areas of the Philippines that really made me decide to pursue a path in conservation. Mount Iglit Baco is one, where we actually host biodiversity camps in support. Where we've been partners with the Tamarao Conservation Program in the protected area since 2019. And I think because these protected areas, for those of you who aren't really so familiar yet, they're really home to such amazing biodiversity, and that's why they're protected. Really natural treasures of the Philippines, aside from cultural, because some of these protected areas, the indigenous peoples live in it, such as like say for Mount Iglit-Baco, the Mangyan indigenous community. And so visiting a protected area really allows you to understand and really immerse in a natural and cultural setting, knowing the Philippines more intimately in that regard. So I encourage, I can't say it yet, but there's a big campaign on the protected areas. It's an interagency campaign this year by the DILG, DNR, and DOT, which I'm very fortunate to also co-lead with the different agencies. And we really want to increase visitation in protected areas in the Philippines. So that's your opportunity, Charlene.
Exciting. Shen, what is your favorite place?
Yeah. Actually, parang hindi maganda yung place na kapag-decide sa akin to pursue development work. So, I think it started in college. So, meron kaming prof, si Sir F. Rojas of UPLB. Pinag-field trip niya kami sa dump site. Tapos, yun lang. I think nag-lecture siya doon saying na lahat ng kalat namin doon lang napupunta. Tapos if we don't do something about that, dadami lang ng dadami kasi hindi rin naman lahat mapaprocess, ganyan. So I think doon nag-start yung awareness to be more mindful, to be more intentional about the things na kinokonsume, ganon. Pero yun, after that, hindi pa ako nag-envy work din. May mga iba-ibang dinaanan pa. Pero I think doon nag-start siguro yung awareness to be more intentional, be more mindful, be more conscious of the environment. Yun.
Thank you, Shan. It doesn't have to be beautiful as long as it's meaningful and something that eventually leads to your beautiful work. How about you, Pia?
I think I'm a mountaineer first before a filmmaker. So yun, I think doon talaga nagsimula yung bakit gusto kong gumawa ng art or film with conservation and film. And then also I don't know, I grew up na may Philippine Eagle. Like, since bata pa ako, may Philippine Eagle here in Davao. And then, the fear of losing them, we might lose them if ubus na yung forest. So, yeah. So, I think doon yung start.
Thank you so much. Sobrang swerte naman that nasa neighborhood na lang yung Philippine Eagle. Ako nakita ko lang yung ano niya, yung body niya in UPLB, not yet the mummified version pa lang. But
the museum. Ayan, we're together. Ano na yun?
Yeah, it's for conservation work also in UPLB. Attorney Gertie.
I'm fortunate to have my first ecological tour. First ecology tour in 1990 in the whole Samar Island with 3 provinces. So I saw the caves, I saw the forest, the roads, and I saw Bagakay mines. And I said, oh my gosh, Bagakay mines not restored, and the government is in fact borrowing a lot of millions of pesos from the World Bank to rehabilitate it. And yet Samar is rich in biodiversity. And I said, I'm living in Palawan, and I said, Palawan, of course, is equally beautiful. And that's it. And having said that, I said that this is really a mission I have to do. That really clinched my decision to continue this work.
Thank you, Attorney Gertie. We are down to our last question. After this, I will invite our panelists to just let us know how they can get in touch with how Bellas and everyone watching can get in touch and know more about their advocacies. So this last parang medyo personal level for now. What would you change about yourself if you could? And perhaps we can start with Attorney Gertie.
Actually, at the moment, I seem to be happy with with what I am. I'm simple and I'm satisfied with what we have. So, and modesty aside, I'm patient. So, so far, nothing that I can think of that I would like to change. But thank you for the question, Jillian. Sorry, I couldn't really give an answer at the moment, but I'm satisfied with where I am. Thank you.
And that's something we all want, right? That's actually a really good answer to know that you're happy with what you have, who you are, and whatever room for improvement might be something that is just very minor and not yet top of mind. Nella?
It's similar to Attorney Gertie. So I'm really big on meditation, and one of the in yoga, and one of the core principles is also acceptance. It's full acceptance of who you are, what your past has been. Any mistake that you've done, it has shaped you. So I really become more accepting of myself. Kunwari, if I made a bad mistake, I remind myself that it's a mistake. You're not a bad person. It's just a bad mistake. Or if it's a bad day, then I tell myself it's a bad day, not a bad life. So I think it's really accepting the present moment, and just not really like having any judgments for it or for yourself, and just really being graceful towards yourself. And I'm really also at the place of contentment, very at peace right now in my life.
Agree. Thank you so much, Nella. And Pia, I see you nodding your head. Any thoughts?
It's so nice to have empowered women in this space. So yeah, I'm the same. Since I'm very much into meditation, and then I accept on things. Maybe
Nice, Pia.
so maybe siguro sana na learn ko like when I was younger na it's okay to take up space. Yun. Na we should not be afraid on taking up space. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Pia. And Shan?
Ano ba? Mga nag-yoga pala yung group natin. I used to do yoga rin pre-pandemic. Pero
Sama ka na, Shen.
Yoga retreat din si Nella.
Yoga retreat yung next session pala. Siguro, I think I'm generally happy rin and contented. But siguro, I would want to be more brave siguro. I think yon. Siguro, in taking up space, like sinabi ni Pia, in pursuing siguro things that I want, ganon. Siguro yon. I think may mga times lang na I second guess myself, ganon. Kasi parang inisip ko baka wala lang, ganon. Yung dapat mag-take up ng space. But I think yon, being brave. Thank you.
Thank you, Shan. I think a lot of women can relate to that. It might be external obstacles or like years and years of preconditioning that we have to tackle in order to claim what is rightfully ours. So
And since Pia is like into meditation, just wanted to add for Shen and for any Bella out here, it's really helpful to use positive affirmations. Like what Shen said, like really just remind yourself, I'm worthy, I'm capable, I'm connected to infinite potential and possibility, I'm resourceful, I'm abundant. And just remind yourself that because you are. So wala lang, Shen. Konting pep talk.
Thank you, love. I feel like we're in a meditation session. And with that, if they want to join a meditation session or just know more about your advocacies, get involved in whatever shape and form is possible, please let them know how they can reach out to you and get in touch with you. And we'll go clockwork based on my screen. So Pia first, how do they get in touch with you?
I think Instagram. I can be connected in Instagram or email. I'll
Mhm.
just Pia Duran PH. That's my Instagram.
Thank you, Pia Duran PH. Attorney Gertie.
Well, ELAC has a Facebook, our NGO, so you can
Mhm.
look for us. I'm not active on Facebook, but I do have a Facebook. I'm not good at social media, but we do post advocacy. But you can get in touch with me there. And I have an email. You can email elakpalawan@gmail.com. Thank you.
alakpalawan@gmail.com. Maraming
Gmail.com.
salamat. Shen?
Again, if you have siguro mga ideas no, related to forest protection and conservation, doesn't have to be directly linked agad kahit siguro feel natin mga 1 meter away. Baka we can explore, we can find ways kung paano natin siya malilink. You can send us a message on Facebook or Instagram or at info@forestfoundation.ph, and then let's see kung anong pwede natin gawin together. And siguro last, we have parang an online course. So, asynchronous naman siya with 5 modules. If you wanna know more lang about the forest, so you can visit bffmovement.education.ph. So, may mga lessons doon about forests, about our forest landscapes, what you can do to protect and conserve our forests in your own way, mga ganon. Thank you.
Thank you, Shan. So those that are eager to do courses, please check that out in education.ph. And Nella?
Yeah, so for nature-based tourism and environmental education, that's Eco Explorations, and to help in conserving and conserving forests and other ecosystems, and sustainable development of our protected areas, and empowering rangers follow Philippine parks and biodiversity. I'm also involved in health and wellness tourism through Soul Speak Yoga, which is our yoga retreat. So you could also follow that.
Thank you, Nella. And thank you so much to everyone here. If you'd also like to follow what I do, my personal Instagram is at InonLife. And our website is wheretonext.ph, or on Instagram, WTN_where to next. And thank you so much to all the Bellas, to all the empowered women that have joined this conversation. Maraming salamat to Jillian. She learned so much from Inspiring Ladies. We also learned from you. And Rochelle said she's looking forward for more events like this so I can share it more with her students. So the more the merrier. So if you can share it, share your takeaways, your questions. You don't only get a chance to win packages or like gifts from Forest Foundation Philippines. You may also learn a thing or two and inspire other women out there. So that's it. Maraming salamat to all these women. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope everyone is feeling inspired, ready to tell stories, ready to fight for what they believe in, and conserve our beautiful natural world. So please don't forget to leave your comments for a chance to bag the Life Stories deck to join the last hashtag I am worthy make change work for Women Plenary next Wednesday on March 30 on Women for Wellness, same time at 6 to 8 p.m. And don't forget to wear your cards and let PDJ put together an artful rendition of your battle cry. So this is the one on Encanto. All of you can just go through the link that is provided in the comment section below, and by tagging hashtag Sing for Change at I love BDJ at hashtag I am worthy, you may be able to submit your entry to punctuate our celebration for Women's Month. And I love that there are crickets actually that I hear from Pia. I
I
thought
know.
that
I
so
slid
much
into the chat, yeah, and I was like, are these crickets in your background?
Yes, yes. These are crickets.
it really feels like we are also in
Yeah.
nature because
Thanks
nature
for
is with
hosting,
us in
Ayan,
this
for Forest
weather.
Foundation and BDJ, and to our inspiring women, Pia and Attorney Gertie and Shen.
Yes, and just to clarify, the price is at the end, right? On the forum, not tonight.
Okay. Our host is ayan.
Hi! Oh, hi, Ryan. Guys, super thank you for this meaningful conversation. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Tia. Thank you, Nana. And
Thank
thank you,
you. Thank
Shining
you.
Force Foundation. Ayan. So, to end this session, hi guys, I'm Jasmine. I was backstage. So there's a quote by this Eco Warrior princess, si Jennifer Nini, where she says, "You can't force people to care about our natural resources, but if you encourage them to connect with it, they just might." So how can we connect to the earth? I leave you, Bellas, with that question. Thank you, Ayan, for hosting this beautiful evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And ayun, see you again next week. Bye!
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Have
you,
a good night.
Stephanie.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Thank you.